ranked for the first time in 7 years, coming in at 19-3, 7-2 in the SEC, battling Ole Miss. He's Jimmy Dykes. I'm Roy Philpott. Let's see what Carolina looks like now as one of the hunted teams in this conference.
Yeah, a little different look, a little different pressure, right? On South Carolina, comes in as one of the top 15 teams in the country, and deservedly so. Man, they are so solid, Roy, on both ends of the floor. They're hard to beat. They don't beat themselves. Ole Miss is capable of coming in here, though, and pulling it off. Ole Miss right now being projected as an NCAA tournament team as well. If you're South Carolina, you trust your point guard, Talon Cooper, to keep this boat going in the right direction.
Well, Cooper, his experience at Morehead State, at Minnesota, hit the big shot in that road win in Knoxville. He has been a true difference maker for head coach Lamont Paris in year number 2. And the roof here at the CLA is about ready to come off. A sellout crowd expected. Whiteout conditions in the cockpit. And we are ready to go. Ole Miss and South Carolina meeting for the first time since last year's SEC tournament. And the Rebels on the road with the opening tap. Ole Miss coming off a home loss to Auburn, a game in which it led by double digits near halftime. That came after a 3-game winning streak. First touch for Jalen Murray. They call him Juju, the point guard from St. Peter's. A touch for Matthew Morrell, a contested jumper off the back iron. And tapped out, it'll stay on this end with a fresh 20.
Boy, that's a rugged South Carolina first defensive possession. They are big on the ball. They stay in front of the ball, and then when the shot's taken, all 5 guys box off. It sounds simple, but it's so fundamental. But my first time to see them tonight live, I'm impressed already with their size on the ball.
Physical team. Lamont Paris reaffirmed to us in a multitude of ways. Not making a lot of mistakes. They do the little things correct most of the time, as Coach just told you. Alan Flanagan contested, Jay, and the mid-range is there.
You have to make your fair share of contested shots against South Carolina. Flanagan with a nice rise. That mid-range pull-up is his sweet spot. Not a three-point shooter, a ferocious driver to his left as well.
Colin Murray-Boyles, another start for the Columbia native. That's goaltending by Cisse. Count the bucket. Veteran officiating crew with Doug Shows, Jeffrey Anderson, Jeb Hartness tonight in Columbia.
South Carolina has a little bit of score early in the possession, not so much in the middle part, but in the late clock, and they are very good, so solid on both ends, the team in white.
Morrell again with the mid-range, this time from 11 for Ole Miss. And the Rebels grab a 4-2 lead. So Ole Miss by 2. Second possession for Carolina. The dump off. Colin Murray-Boyles.
And Roy, that's that early shot clock that they are so good at, that middle ball screen action. Man, they roll out of it with a purpose.
And Jimmy, we feel like that's a name that SEC fans are going to want to remember for the years to come. And at the end of this season, 30 and White has turned out to be a special player now that he's healthy. Front rim for Murray, and that caroms out of bounds.
Yeah, he is a talented kid, 30 and White. You can see his game starting to come. This time early with some sickness problems, but his body is in such tremendous shape right now for a young kid. Highly skilled, highly talented, very versatile.
We talked to him today for about 10 minutes as well. There's some swagger to little 30, as Mama likes to call him. Meechie wide open. Meechie Johnson from downtown.
That backside bomb is always in place for South Carolina. This home court has become a special place in the year 2 under Lamont Paris.
First time the Gamecocks have been ranked in the regular season since that run to the Final Four 7 years ago. When Meechie Johnson's on point, good things for South Carolina.
Yeah, he's shooting 34% from the three-point line in conference play. But those 2 guards, Cooper and Meechie Johnson, they are on a string with one another. And Cooper's ability to move Meechie Johnson more off the ball this year to free him up to be a shooter. 2 big physical guards, man, that they fix a lot of problems on the floor before Lamont Paris has to.
Well, some problems with the score tracker in-house tonight and also with the scoreboard above us, but it's 7-4. Gamecocks leading Ole Miss and with possession. Well, 2.5 minutes in. And another touch for Murray-Boyles. Little high-low to B.J. Mack. Cisse clears.
Yeah, the ones you got to make, though, right?
7-4, South Carolina out in front. Just underway in Columbia. And right through the midst of Flanigan, saved by Brakefield. Shot clock under 10. And Jamin launching and connecting. We're tied at 7.
Yeah, Ole Miss has made 3 guarded shots already in this first 4-minute segment, and you're going to have to make them. You don't want to settle for them, but that defense is so tight on you. The rise-up ability of Ole Miss will be tested in this game.
Jimmy, they'll call that a long 2, so it's 7-6. 3.5 minutes in. Hey, coming up in our next segment, Dawn Staley, head coach of the #1 Gamecocks on the women's side, set to join us courtside. Murray Boyles delivers in the post.
Doesn't he have a great feel for a freshman? To feel that defender on the high side, knock him off and spin back. That's elite stuff.
We asked him today, you had 16 the last game at Georgia. Does that give you some more confidence? And in short, he said, yeah, it does. Brakefield bottled up. Here comes Flanigan.
Whoa, wow.
Attacking. And the slam.
Where was the weak side defense on Flanigan's drive? You don't get to the ball side, and he gets a straight line drive. It is over at the rim.
Auburn transfer makes it a 1-point game.
Boy, not a lot of screening in South Carolina's offense, but the terrific spacing at all times.
Spin by Cooper. How about that bounce? Gamecocks by 3. Here's Flanigan. Bullied his way inside. He'll do it again. And with a finish, he's got 4.
You have to play through contact in this game, and Flanigan has done a really good job of it early. Got a hit as he was trying to come off the screen, then took another hit with the ball in his hands.
Jimmy, the offensive start for both sides.
Yeah.
Both teams pretty crisp.
And both teams are really locking in defensively. Just a lot of guarded shots have already been made in this game.
Both teams 5 of 6 from the floor. Here's Cooper. Boy, that's been his spot. And Flanigan clears. Chance for the Rebels to regain the lead. Poked away by Zachary Davis. 3-on-2. And here's Davis, top of the key.
Go now. Zachary Davis is shooting 19% from the three-point line. And that looked like a 19% three-point shooter.
It still counts.
But it counts.
And the lead up to 4. That's a tough shot to make, top of the key, off glass. Side rim for Murray, ripped away by Murray Boyles.
Well, one and done, right? They box off with a vengeance, talking about the home team. Watch out.
Murray Boyles inside, he's got 6. And a good start for the home team. And an offensive foul. Morrell cleared out on Johnson. An easy call for this veteran crew.
Yeah, that one-on-one defense by South Carolina is sticky. They guard their yard as well as anybody in this league. And you go one-on-one, you better have a seam or a crease to attack. And the best in women's basketball getting ready to join us next.
The Hall of Famer, Dawn Staley, coming up. Well, a 6-point lead for the home team back inside Colonial Life Arena. A sellout crowd, a whiteout expected. And we're joined by the Hall of Famer, the 2-time national champion head coach Dawn Staley, Jimmy Dykes, Roy Philpott. Coach, you're enjoying yourself at these games. I've seen you on social media. We've seen you on TV. What's it like?
It's great. Somebody stole my seats that I usually sit in because I came a little bit late. Like, I got here 5 minutes before tip, but they stole the seats, so I'm up in the stands. But it feels like we're up more than about 6 points.
Coach, I think it's very unique that you truly love and pull for the men's team and vice versa. That's not the common thing on a lot of campuses. Why the love between you guys, and why is it so important for the success?
I want Lamont to win. I really do, because he probably wasn't a popular hire around here, and then he didn't have the type of season that he probably wanted to have last year. And to be where he is in year 2 is quite remarkable. Last year this time, we could probably play a dodgeball across from one another, and there's nobody in here now. He turns this season around, and they do say, if you win and build it, they will come. And this is year 2 for Lamont.
Well, we've seen it with your basketball program, and your team is undefeated and ranked #1. And we got 2 big games coming up this week at home, Mizzou and then UConn. So what's front and center on your mind as you get ready for those 2 games?
Well, we got to figure out how we win 2 basketball games without our starting center in Camila Cardoso. But I think our younger post players, they're ready. One of them, actually, Sanaya Fagan, started to work out maybe 4 to 6 weeks prior to Camilla's departure to our national team. So she's been in that mode for quite some time now. So hopefully she can help fill the void along with some of our other younger post players of what Camilla leaves us with. But I'm happy for Camilla. I hope she stamps her country into the 2024 Olympic Games.
Don, what have you learned from Lamont? Because I know you're always learning, you're always challenging yourself. What have you taken away from him? Anything in particular?
I mean, I like his baseline out of bounds series. He's got a series, and we haven't implemented yet. So I just want to get all of the options down before we give it to our players. So I'm studying each and every game, and then I just like Lamont because he's cool, he's calm, he's collected. When he's able to have the type of culture that he created, I'm just truly happy for him. I wasn't quite as calm in year 2 here in South Carolina.
But, I mean, the 2 programs, you guys can feed off of each other. There's a synergy there. You can see it and feel it on television, and then talking with you and talking with Coach Paris earlier today, you hear it in his voice when he talks about your program.
I mean, that's the way it's supposed to be. And if you can hear my voice talk about Lamont, you can hear me talk about Shane Beamer. You can hear me talk about Moo Majors. You can hear me talk about Beverly Smith. You know, all the coaches around here at South Carolina, we really pull for each other. It's not just we're doing it on social media. We're present at games, at competitions, and it's a real thing.
Stute for 3 after the Flanagan make, and Miles Stute has 2 triples in the last 60 seconds.
Man, they are so good with their spacing, moving the ball. They don't turn it over. They guard their tails off, Coach. Like, just the simple things of staying in front of the ball, boxing off. They excel in those areas, right?
When you can shoot the 3 as well as they shoot the 3, I think their defense has really improved over the past couple of weeks because Lamont talked a lot about what they were able to do from hitting outside shots, hitting threes, and how many threes they could hit in the preseason. I think their defense has been the most impressive thing because sometimes those long balls aren't falling, and you got to rely on something. And these guys are just the synergy, the connectiveness, the camaraderie. Like,
hey, it's great to see it, but especially since I don't have to coach against you.
Don, we appreciate it. Thank you so much, Coach.
Thank y'all.
Dawn Staley, 2-time national championship head coach here in Columbia, joining us as we step aside. 10-point lead for South Carolina. Gamecocks in the midst of an 11-2 run the last 4 minutes. Jimmy Dykes, Roy Philpott. I'm still kind of astounded that somebody stole Dawn Staley's seats. We were searching for her before we brought her on camera here courtside in her normal location, and that was the reason we couldn't find her. So we were a little uncertain what was happening there, Jimmy. But, hey, whoever's sitting in Coach Staley's seats, what are we doing?
I did not get the memo, right? Wow, that was an opening statement by Coach. Someone is sitting in my seats.
Newsflash, it's time to move. All right, so Ole Miss, 4 turnovers early. Rebels are shooting 67%, but Miles Stute has gone off, and Gamecocks have put the clamps down with those turnovers so far.
Yeah, well, South Carolina has 0 turnovers in the ball game. I'm telling you, they are very clean, very clear with what they do on both ends of the floor. They've turned Ole Miss already over 4 times, which you cannot do on the road. Chris Beard's got to settle his guys down and know that they're in for a slugfest. And South Carolina, Roy, they're so good at dragging you into their style as opposed to you dragging them out of their style. If you're Ole Miss, you just got to man up right now, and it's a body blow game for the rest of this half and the entire second half.
And I think that point you just made, if you think back to the last 2 weeks and what South Carolina did at Tennessee, what South Carolina did here against Kentucky.
Wow.
Jacoby Wright connects. They took those two teams out of the game and out of their offense, and now the lead expands to 13.
And then Wright is another guy shooting 36, 37% from the three. You cannot stand there and give a guy like that or a team like that airspace.
Flanagan mid-range, there it is again. So Al Flanagan on the road. He's got 8 early points.
Chris Beard sees something for Flanagan in those elbow jump shots right now. And those curl moves, those pin downs, getting Flanagan good looks like this.
Wow, Ugasuk wide open. And that's playing with house money at 15 and White's getting you buckets.
It is.
Jamarian Sharp just checked in, and he decked Ugasuk, an offensive foul.
South Carolina sets a lot of high screens around the elbows area. They lift that offense up, and Ugasuk last possession was the beneficiary of that cut off of it.
Almost halfway through the first. Off the curl, here's Stute. And stolen by Flanagan. The Rebels force a turnover. The lob to Cisse. Outside to Juju Murray.
Yeah, big basket. The first turnover that Ole Miss has forced in this game. They run it right down and get a three. And a huge possession. South Carolina, as good as they are offensively, they don't have guys who just line up and just win their match, but they do a good job of moving the defense, throwing it back, and getting you in a disadvantage about as well as anybody in this league.
Yeah, the sum is greater than the parts. Stute is absolutely scorching hot to start tonight.
Roy, to my point, South Carolina punches the paint. The defense has to shrink to that basketball and advantage Stute up top.
Murray, the finish in traffic, 30-19. Lamont Paris, last couple of times that I've been in this building, has suggested at some point the shooting is going to catch up. At some point they're going to drain 12 to 13 threes. And when they do, they're going to be a very tough out. That's an offensive foul. Goes back to Ole Miss.
Yeah, South Carolina comes in making 8 threes a game in conference play at 34%. But that is a shrink three is what a lot of teams call that. You made the defense shrink to the level of the basketball. Stute spots up behind. And you got to remember, this is a kid that led the SEC in three-point percentage 2 years ago at Vanderbilt. He is a specialist from distance.
Coach, he blew him a little kiss afterwards as well. Murray inside. And a high degree of difficulty on back-to-back possessions.
Yeah, well, both these teams shooting at the same clip you were earlier today. Just make after make after make.
Oh, what a tremendous tease.
Do we have any footage of Roy Philpott?
Please, no.
That we can roll in or out of a break? That's the only request I have tonight.
I'm not sure the rim was at regulation when I was shooting. Should have double-checked that. Stute outside to B.J. Mack. He can make that one. Not that time.
Well, he's got to get back to shooting a better ball. 25% from the three-point line. He's got to rise back up into those mid-30s. There's only one way to do it. That's get your tail in the gym and get up 800 or 900 shots a day like Antonio Reeves does at Kentucky.
Rebels have made their last 5 shots. Murray inside to Cisse. He's got the size advantage, and he uses it.
I like the middle ball screen for Ole Miss in this game because of how tall those rollers are. Cisse at 7'2". And you cannot come down and help enough off those wings. That's good action for the Rebels.
Jimmy's a legit 7'2".
Yes.
Former Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year at Oklahoma State. Outside to Mack. He's left wide open. Johnson corrals the rebound and a fresh 20.
Boy, those are the ones you got to make. I mean, the offense is designed for your 5 to pop out off the penetration.
Cooper makes that one. 7 threes already for Carolina.
Don't they move the ball at a high clip? I mean, they throw strikes. They don't throw bad passes to each other.
Here's Murray. That was Brandon Murray, no. 3 on 4 the other way. Outside to Mack. He didn't offer that time. Lead at 10. Stute had Morrell right in his grill on a turnover.
Yeah, that's on Stute, man. He's got to see that weak side defense just sitting there waiting on him. But to your point, good ball pressure.
Under 7 to play. Murray will back it out. 15 on the clock. And this crowd is in it. And a foul called. It will go against the Gamecocks, and Talon Cooper remains on the deck as we step aside in Columbia. The lead at 10 for the home team. SEC men's basketball is presented by Regions, official bank of the SEC. And a trip down memory lane, the 1997 South Carolina Gamecocks winning at Rupp on senior night. And back in 2017, that Final Four run under former head coach Frank Martins and Darius Thornwell, and that crew were tremendous as they caught fire late in the season. And you take a look at where South Carolina is right now, Jimmy. First time they've been ranked in the top 25 since 2017. First time they've been ranked in the top 15 since all the way back in 97. That's a long time ago.
Well, this is a program that's proven they can get to the Final Four. And this is not a team right now nationally talked about as a Final Four dark horse, but I would put them there in the first 13 minutes that I've seen them live tonight. This building is electric. They play a style that is unique. They don't beat themselves. And to your point, Ole Miss is shooting 73% from the field, and they're down 10.
How is that possible?
I've never seen that stat. Well, it's 21-3 from the three-point line in favor of South Carolina. Watch out.
Murray Boyles inside, a strong finish over Brakefield. He's got 8, and he's picking up right where he left off in that road win at Georgia back on Saturday.
This will not be a pleasant timeout for Chris Beard. This is a get-right timeout for Ole Miss because you just allowed South Carolina to outwork you, sprinting from one end of the floor to the other. And Roy, the 3 ball for South Carolina is just exploding. They've seen a big rim. It's been 5 different guys have made a 3 already in this game. Like I said, they throw strikes. Seldom are those shooters having to reach for a ball outside the shot pocket. And if you don't take away their airspace right now, they're just going to continue to rise and fire. That's just lackadaisical, no urgency in the transition game. And Stute pops out. They make you shrink to the ball. They move the ball well. They space the floor so well. Never will you see a South Carolina offensive player within 15 feet of another guy unless it's a ball screen situation. Really good, clean offense by the home team.
Rebels shooting 69%. Trailing now by 12, and 3-point differential, the key metric so far. Gamecocks with 21 points behind the arc. Ole Miss with just 3. Brakefield would love to change it. He can't do it. Murray Boyles clears.
Pretty tough shot coming out of a timeout. Step back 3 from Brakefield. And South Carolina only has 1 foul. You got to drive that ball if you're Ole Miss right now and bring the officials into this game on the road.
Swatted away by Brakefield. Murray Boyles came back with it, and a foul called on Caldwell. Now, there was a lot of contact on both sides. Now, Murray Boyles, a freshman from right here in Columbia.
Roy, he's the one, and that's a pretty good example of it right there. He's the one SEC athlete at the rim that South Carolina has, like the size, the explosiveness, the strength, the total package that you need around the rim to make plays. He's the one guy that Lamont Paris has. Those other guys are below the rim players. B.J. Mack, Gray, but not this kid.
He was expected to be the starting power forward going back to the summer. Came down with mono. That set him back a couple of months. About the ball rotation. Shot clock down to 1. Cooper, no. Mack, yes.
And there he is, right in front of the rim, a below the rim rebound. And 0 panic by South Carolina in late clock. I haven't seen one possession all year where they panic when the shot clock hits 3, 2, 1.
Murray inside and a chance for 3. That was high off the glass. And Juju Murray at 5'11", playing much bigger than that in this first half.
That's the kind of stuff you learn growing up at Dyckman Park in Bronx, New York. Those type of creative small shot makers that come out of that city year after year. I mean, this kid's tough, and Ole Miss has a lot of grit and moxie about him. And if Juju Murray has anything to say about it, Ole Miss is not going to go away without a fight in this game.
Yeah, they can get streaky. They get on those runs. They get out in transition. You got Morrell and you got Brakefield and the two Murrays. There's some weapons for Chris Beard. Well, he's done a great job in year one, too. I don't think a lot was expected or a lot was unknown coming into Oxford, and here is Ole Miss with a chance to go to the NCAA tournament in his first season. Murray Boyles baseline, flings it out to Cooper. Quick pass to Johnson. And Morrell comes up with a rebound and was bumped hard by 30 and White. And a good show of sportsmanship. First personal on CMB.
Well, Chris's team has got to get to a defensive level that he's had in years past at Little Rock, Texas Tech, Texas. They're not there yet, but make no mistake, he knows exactly how he's building this program. And in year one, you're just trying to fix so many issues, but defensively, they're not at the Chris Beard level that they will be year 2, 3, 4 going forward.
Can you coach that defense, or do you have to recruit to it?
A little bit of both. But it's a whole lot about coaching. But he understands that that side of the ball as well as anybody in this league.
Brandon Murray, the jump stop. Murray Boyles in his grill. Morrell gets it back, and that's a shot clock violation.
The Gamecocks, stay in front of the ball as well as any team I've seen all year defensively. And it doesn't matter what your game plan is with ball screen coverage, help side, all that. That does not matter. If you cannot guard the ball, you're not a good defensive team, and South Carolina is the best there is in this league doing it.
How did Coach Paris frame that to us today? He said, what's the #1 thing you got to think about when you're guarding the ball?
The ball.
You got to guard the ball. Boy, the lob to Davis, and this place was ready to erupt. Instead, the alley-oop sails out of bounds.
It doesn't feel like a lot has gone Ole Miss's way, but you look up, they got a chance right now to get it under 10, make it an 8 or 9 point game and to hang in this thing. You don't expect, no one does, even Lamont Paris does not expect his own club to continue to make 7 out of 10 threes going forward.
Now, you talk to coaches and you're red hot in the first half from downtown. Sometimes that can be fool's gold. Absolutely. In the second. Here's Flanagan. That's been his spot, and he connects again. Al Flanagan in double figures with 10.
I love those simple play calls right now by Chris Beard for Flanagan. Knowing that help defense is so airtight, you're going to have to make some guarded ones, and Flanagan is doing it.
That's a lost art, that mid-range jumper.
Yes.
And an offensive foul. That'll be on Mack with a moving screen.
A really good last 1 minute for Ole Miss. Got this thing down to 9, and the ball, there's a little bit of life, a little bit of pep as they head to their timeout. Got a good one in Columbia.
What's up, y'all? Coming up at half, can Kentucky bounce back after back-to-back losses? We'll get everybody's thoughts on Auburn and Alabama. Richard Hendricks, though, what are you seeing down there?
Well, I think the spacing and ball movement for South Carolina did a really good job.
Yep.
Hey, Coach, where does Roy Philpott rank in the play-by-play shooting rankings?
Ooh.
I hear Mike Morgan, Dave Neal, and Richard Cross are nipping at his heels.
I can Pat, I'm going to show you where he ranks. These rims, when I walked in this morning, were brand new, and then Roy shot for about 4 or 5 minutes. Look at this rim. Look at the rim, Pat. This was because of Roy. So that gives you an idea of where his jump shot is right now.
To all my friends here in the Palmetto State, I humbly apologize from the bottom of my heart for having to watch this.
You've got a nice shot. For a small guard, you shoot a good ball.
Emphasis on the word small.
Yeah, they didn't go in, but still it's a good release. The rotation is true, but I'm going to start calling you paint chipper because that's what you did to these rims today.
Oh, my gosh.
Pat Bradley's timing was perfect to ask that question.
It really was. PB, I can't thank you enough, or I don't know. I don't know what we're doing.
Great.
I'm sorry. I apologize. We got a good game here,
yes,
too, by the way. A really good game.
Do.
And Ole Miss is back in it. They have scratched and clawed their way back in. By the way, welcome Richard Hendricks to the SEC Network studio family. Great to see him there with PB and PB this evening.
Well, South Carolina knocks you out, man. That hard hedge blitz ball screen action, they knock you out and sprint back and take it away.
Brakefield traveled. Austin Nunez on the floor as well for the first time tonight for the Rebels.
Troy, think about this. Ole Miss, they're shooting 62% in this first half. This is the best first half of field goal percentage they've had all year. 59% against Cal way back in December. So Ole Miss offensively is doing some good things. They just got to get back-to-back stops.
Cooper inside, and how about that finish?
He drove the ball from the 30-foot mark on the floor right through the gut of Ole Miss's defense. Things that Chris Beard absolutely does not tolerate.
Murray's been outstanding in this first half for 3 in and outs. And Zach Davis skied for the rebound. Foul's going to be called against the Rebels. I think that's Brakefield, and it is.
You know you're a legit rebounding team when you're rebounding against your own teammates. And that time, South Carolina, 3 white jerseys fighting each other for the ball. And they take nothing for granted when that ball's on the glass at either end.
I want to ask you this question about Ta'Lon Cooper. He's not the best player in the league. Is he the most valuable when you consider what he's doing for South Carolina this year?
Yeah, he's the most valuable to his team. You're absolutely right. And the way they space you out is so impressive. I mean, they play the game individually on islands, but they also play it as connected as we have in the SEC. And that's a hard description to handle when you're trying to defend these guys.
Deep 3 by Morrell, and that's a good sign for the Rebels. 41-31, the lead back down to 10.
Yeah, just continuing to hang in there. I mean, if you can keep this thing under double digits going into half, Ole Miss will have some oxygen about him. What I love about Ta'Lon Cooper, Lamont told us today, he speaks with meaningful words. Like, he's a high IQ guy that gets it.
Meechie Johnson gets it as well. Leading scorer this season for Carolina. Lead back to 12. Brakefield defended by Josh Gray. And defended well. Morrell baseline. Swatted away, and Stute came away with it. Off the quick spin, that bounce pass, Karams out of bounds.
The other thing South Carolina defensively, Roy, that jumps out to me, they don't overhelp. On drives, they're just not sprinting to the ball. They stay locked up and they trust that one-on-one defense. That's just a very next level form of discipline defensively when you're not an overhelp team, and that's who these guys are.
I love what you said earlier. It's not sexy to talk about some of these principles that this team executes at such a high level, but it's the reason why they're sitting there at 19-3. Josh Gray. Really not his shot. He had 6 dunks against Georgia, 1 already tonight. Big possession now for Ole Miss, under a minute to go in the half.
Yeah, they could have gone 2 for 1, but now it's getting down short on them.
Brakefield the runner, no. And Cisse was boxed out by Stute, had to reach around, couldn't quite get there, and Cooper comes away with it. And a timeout called by South Carolina.
I talked to Lamont Paris after I think it's after the Kentucky game, and I asked him, Coach, how are you getting this done? He said 2 things that really jumped out. He said, first of all, Jimmy, my guys let me coach them. Like, they let me coach them. That's not always the most common thing in sports these days. He said that we're really good at 2 things defensively. We stay in front of the ball. We always box off. We're keeping it pretty simple and clean.
One of the guys who's been boxing out at a high level, Colin Murray-Boyles, a freshman. He's got 8 points, 3 rebounds, and just has played tough once again tonight.
Over the last 8 games, he's become an extended minute guy. He's so versatile. And his body was remade last year at Wasatch Academy out in Utah, but a former top 100 guy that's lost about 20 pounds in October because of mono, but has fought his way back, and his ceiling is really, really good. A lefty, he's tough. The game means a lot to this kid. Very well spoken, talking to both of us earlier this afternoon. He was a high priority for Lamont Paris when he got the job. The previous staff didn't really make him a priority, and Lamont Paris sweeps in and says, I got to have you stay right here, and a key piece in this building process.
I talked to ESPN Director of College Recruiting, Paul Biancardi, earlier today. I said, give me something on CMB. He said, you know what, I love his touch, his hands, his footwork. rebounding ability. And you mentioned it, Coach. He made great strides as a senior. And Paulie Bucket's telling us that as well. He's legit and one to watch in the coming seasons and this year. 3-second differential between the clocks. Step back for Johnson. And Jacoby Wright was stripped, but he was fouled by Flanagan.
And you force a tough shot if you're Ole Miss. And you got one guy that doesn't box off. You lose that battle, and South Carolina now at that free throw line because of it.
Jacoby Wright says he was shooting. Let's see. They're going to call it underneath the basket. I thought he was trying to get a shot off there.
I did too.
And Lamont Paris thinking the same thing. And instead, shot clock is off. 3.7 remaining. Mack will force it up. And the first half comes to an end right there. All 9 players for South Carolina have scored. And the Gamecocks with a 12-point advantage. 20 minutes in, their first time being ranked in 7 years. And they are off and running here in Columbia. Let's get you back to the studio. Say good evening to Peter Burns, Richard Hendricks, Pat Bradley. I guess you too, buddy.
I got the worst jump shot of all 3 of us. Welcome to the halftime report.
You got the sweetest golf swing, though.
That is true, although it was pretty bad earlier today. How about Colonial Life Arena? Between Dawn Staley, Lamont Paris, that place is rocking. Richard Hendricks, I mean, 43-31. They didn't even shoot a single free throw in that first half. What stood out to you?
Well, it's a spacing, and you talk about the pace in which.
And South Carolina, first time it's been ranked in 7 years. So far, so good. A 12-point advantage against Ole Miss. 2 teams that both expect to be in the NCAA tournament. Jimmy Dykes, Roy Philpott. Get to our first half highlights in a minute. But for the Gamecocks, hey, everything kind of worked as Lamont Paris expected.
Yeah, very impressed with everything in the Colonial Life Arena. The student section, it's a sellout. Lamont Paris has this thing rolling right now as the 15th ranked team in the country. I love their ball movement, especially Michi Johnson had 6 assists in the first half. South Carolina very clean on the offensive end.
Take a look at some of our first half highlights. Al Flanagan, 10 points in mid-range, and the dunk, keeping Ole Miss in it.
Yeah, he's the one guy, has not missed a shot yet, and 5 out of 5 from the field. But here's the issue. You're dealing with a hot shooting team that moves the ball really well. They stay so spaced. They take away your help defense. You can't get there fast enough. So Michi Johnson, like I said, already has 6 assists in this game. South Carolina, Roy, 12 assists on their 18 makes. That's about as good of offensive pattern as you can have.
5 different Gamecocks have connected from long range. You see the bench scoring in favor of Carolina. Al Flanagan and Juju Murray keeping the Rebels in this game to begin our second half. Important to point out as well for Michi Johnson, Pops is in the building for the first time this year. He's a high school coach up in Ohio. And so this game, I think, in the league where it means more, means a little bit more. And there's Michi Sr., one-time high school nemesis of one LeBron James back in the day. We'll tell you more about that later in the half. Underway, and the Gamecocks, the first possession of our final 20. Cooper to Mack, that's a 3. Murray Boyles collects the rebound, a fresh 20, didn't need it. He's in double figures now with 10.
He is really good at carving out space on that offensive glass. And probably turned down a pretty good look on the initial roll, but his nose for the ball as a cleanup guy in this freshman class is really impressive.
I was going to ask you the question, what does Ole Miss need to do differently on offense, but really has nothing to do with what's happening for them on this end of the court. It's all about their D.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Shoot the high 50% in the first half. Can they get stops? And can Ole Miss get on the glass a little bit more? That's one of the concerns for Ole Miss coming in, is how much they allow on the offensive glass in SEC games so far, about 40%.
Murray Boyles operating inside, left-handed finish. He's got 12, 6 for 6 shooting tonight.
I did not see enough fight from Brakefield, though, defensively on that play. That's a one-on-one battle, and the fight factor went to the offense.
Flanagan baseline, rising in. He was fouled in the process. Felt like that was going to be another one of those dunks. And instead he was hammered. Mack got there. He'll pick up the personal. And his second foul. So 2 free throws coming for the Auburn transfer. Now Al Flanagan started every game after making that move from the Plains up to Oxford. His father also an assistant coach for Chris Beard. Wes Flanagan on the Ole Miss staff.
Yeah, Breakfield's going to get a seat. Chris Beard, you just let your guy catch it right in front of the rim if you're Breakfield, and then there was no fight to keep Colin Murray Boyles from the spin, and that's a short leash, as it should be, through Chris Beard's eyes.
Flanagan off the mark, the lead at 15. I'm no coach. I didn't play a lot of ball, but I'm getting it back to 30 and seeing if Cisse can handle it.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a more advantageous matchup for the Rebels.
Well, or run Mack in there, because now he has the mismatch with Flanagan guarding him. That's the predicament they can put you in.
Mack will bully his way and then get that shot swatted out by Cisse. That's rim protection from the former Big 12 co-defensive player of the year.
Where you just can't let this lead continue to grow if you're Ole Miss. And Cisse, really good timing as that second defender to come in, was the second guy off the floor.
Shot clock at 1.2. Davis knows it. That shot caroms behind the backboard. Lamont Paris, you said it, and I think you mentioned it earlier in the week. Certainly the favorite to be the SEC Coach of the Year, maybe National Coach of the Year. Morrell trains the baseline, Jay.
Well, I can't think of anyone nationally has done a better job when you're picked dead last out of a power conference, and you find yourself right now in that second slot and a solid 6 seed in the NCAA tournament. And the quality of ball that you're seeing when you watch him play, no one's done a better job of coaching in college ball this year. I know that.
Talon Cooper's three-point percentage in his last 6 games has come down tonight, and he shot 2 of 3 from bonus land in the process.
We got 74% right at it over the last 5 games.
That's a good night at the office, right? If your percentage goes down when you're 2 of 3.
No doubt. Lamont Paris has coached his tail off. I'm telling you what, he's got some dudes now. He's got some players. Talon Cooper, this kid with the ball, is a handful, a mismatched guy. That Colin Murray Boyles with a top 100 player out of high school right there, 30 in white. Michi Johnson's progress, one of the most improved players in the league. It's coaching and buy-in from talented kids. Right now has South Carolina 19-3.
And it's one thing to look at the conference record, 7-2. It's impressive. Who have you beaten? On the road at top 5 Tennessee, and then Kentucky here at home. Jimmy, that game wasn't close. That was a 17-point loss for the Cats. And you take a look at the resume right now. Net ranking checks the box for Lamont Paris. Quad 1 record at 3-2, respectable. Really no bad losses. And the ceiling for this team this year down the stretch, Joey Brackets has him as a 6 seed right now. That may be a little bit low by the time we get to the end of this week.
Yeah, no doubt. And it's interesting. I asked him, I said, does your blueprint at South Carolina follow exactly what you did at Wisconsin? He said in one area, 100% one area, the value that we place on non-basketball things. And he talked about the word being appreciative. And he talked about self-awareness. And he said, my team has a complete understanding of the power of those 2 words in terms of who we are as a team. And I loved his answer.
Morrell tipped up by Cisse, no bounce. Michi Johnson, the rebound. I never heard a coach respond to that kind of question with those kinds of answers. It was different. Cooper faked out the planet, and ahead now to Flanagan off the turnover, and a big bucket for the Rebels.
Yeah, you got to score off your defense if you're Ole Miss, but it is not easy. South Carolina's so good, so strong with the ball. They don't turn it over a lot.
51-36, nearly 4 minutes into the second half. Ole Miss had that halftime lead at home against Auburn back on Saturday, and then the Tigers just really got incredibly hot that second half with 56 points. In and out for Jacoby Wright. Murray tried to swat the rebound down against the deck. Couldn't find it. Grown man hoops coming. PJ Mack returns inside.
Everything he does is below the rim, but he does it with a big, wide body that just knocks contact out of the way. Pretty good rip move, 1 bounce. He is a tough cover, B.J. Mack. 6'8", 260. Really good pickup in that portal. Skill, big, can pass it back to the basket, off the bounce. 2 in white, hard to guard.
All right, so Jimmy, we're going to have a lot of games down the stretch, final month and a half of the season, where both teams playing the SEC are tournament bound, and Ole Miss is a 10 seed according to Joey Brackett. South Carolina is 6.
Well, look at those teams: Ole Miss, A&M, Florida as a 10 seed. Not a lot of room for error. Mississippi State, one of the last 4 in. Georgia under consideration. They need to win 3 or 4 in a row to probably get in that last 4. But man, the SEC this year is absolutely loaded. It is the best conference in college basketball. They're right there matching the Big 12 with 9 teams projected to be in. And the strength of this league is the quality depth. But to your point, man, every game going forward is just an all-out battle and war, meaningful ball games, and there will be some big-time meaningful games once we get to Nashville for that SEC tournament. Teams trying to lock up an NCAA bid will all still be at stake.
And I think the benefit that week will be quad 1 opportunities everywhere, even in the early rounds. And so you could be looking at a team like Ole Miss or Texas A&M or even Georgia that's kind of on that bubble, and with a win, that may be enough in a quad 1 situation to boost the resume.
Yeah, there's no doubt. And Ole Miss right now in an uphill climb. They've been out-rebounded by 9 in this game, Ole Miss.
Out of the timeout. Great look for Morrell.
That is all coaching right there by Chris Beard, understanding exactly what we want to do in this timeout, coming out of it, being very clear with his play call and his draw. Nice execution.
Gray back on the floor. They'll work it inside out to Murray Boyles. With the size advantage on Morrell, his first miss of the evening. And Murray somehow claimed the rebound, was fouled in the process. And that'll go on Stute.
Coming out of that timeout, Matthew Morrell is going to start inside to go outside. I think he got a little bit of a pin down action for him, Chris Beard on the call, but well, there's a big basket.
Big possession now for Ole Miss, trying to get back in it, trailing by 14. Flanagan has been unstoppable with that mid-range. So is Murray. Not this time. Murray Boyles the rejection on Juju. That was Murray v. Murray, and they're squared up on the opposite end of the court. We'll talk about a size differential. Here it is. Murray Boyles swatted away by Juju Murray out of bounds.
Yeah, payback, right? Because he got his ball on the other end, and Juju says, I'll hang in this fight. And a short clock opportunity for South Carolina to work with. And Juju Murray has held his own right there, but Colin Murray Boyle, he opens up his shoulders and allow the smaller guard to get to his ball.
Shot clock at 7. Josh Gray, ejected by Sharp. He'll get it back. Sharp again the block, and that's what 7-5 will do for you, a shot clock violation.
Yeah, no doubt. Gray and Mack are both below the rim scorers. I've said it multiple times in this game. And Sharp, as he just stays between the ball and the basket, I mean, his coverage area is as good as there is in this league.
And a steal by Murray Boyles. Up and in, and a chance for 3.
Roy, things you can't do if you're Ole Miss on the road. You got a chance to continue to cut into the lead. You're just running simple action up top. You're just trying to cross your guys up. And one guy on the AM, the other guy on FM, then not good communication. And man, I like everything I see from this freshman right here. His body is really good. He's had the wow factor from day one in practice. And that's not how this program is built. It's built on fundamentally sound plays, but every once in a while you need a guy that can just make something happen on either end, and this kid is it.
Montpere said he was shooting the cover off the ball from distance back in the summer before he got mono.
Yep.
Not as much afterwards, and we talked to CMB about it today. He said the shot's coming, but Lamont Paris said he does not have the green light just yet. Morrell does, and he connects.
That's been good offense for Ole Miss the entire game. Those elbow jump shots for Morrell and Flanagan. If you're South Carolina, you live with it. You're making Ole Miss take tough guarded shots.
Rebels 3 of 6 from behind the three-point arc. Gamecocks 8 of 18. Skip pass to right. And Sharp will get the rebound. Lead at 14, Euro, and Flanagan's going to shoot 2.
A good job by Flanagan to bring it with force, because South Carolina had a pretty good wall built. I think they had 3 white jerseys across that free throw line area, but Flanagan just brings it with force, finds a little bit of a seam. Remember in the first half, neither team got into the bonus. Now that's the 4th foul already on South Carolina. You're going to get back in this game on the road if you're Ole Miss, win the race to the bonus in this second half. So far, they're tracking it.
Flanagan's been outstanding. 2 free throws, 1 more coming after that make. He's got 14 points tonight as Johnson's back on the floor.
Where Flanagan's really versatile. I mean, he's taken about half of his shots on the year out of transition, half of them out of isolation action. We know he's good with that left paw. He can also drive right. He's a good spot up, post up, elbow jump shooter. Just a lot of good things from Flanagan. Only thing he doesn't do, talking about 7 and blue, is shoot that 3-point shot well.
3rd foul on Colin Murray Boyle, so that's something to track. Leading scorer for the Gamecocks tonight with 14. Ole Miss the hang-around team so far on the road. Cooper. And Sharp gets it out to Morrell. Rebels in transition. Pops out to Nunez. Ole Miss fortunate. Flanagan off the curl inside. And 2 more free throws coming. With Cooper still on the deck.
Roy, if you don't cut hard and make violent cuts against South Carolina, you won't get open. And Flanagan that time just came with a purpose and a speed that South Carolina couldn't match. Gets himself to the free throw line again, and South Carolina they're hanging in this ball game.
Flanagan 3 of 4 at the stripe. And 1 more coming. 2nd leading scorer. And leading rebounder so far this season for Chris Beard. And maybe that tells you a little bit about what Ole Miss needs to do better.
Yeah.
Grab those boards, not necessarily easy thing to do when you look at size in the backcourt and what Sharp and Cisse give you defensively. And at some point you feel like those rebounds are going to come. Just hasn't happened yet.
Well, they are Ole Miss last in the league at cleaning up their defensive glass, and that's a big number to overcome. I love what Chris Beard told his guys from day one. We will win right now. We're not going to wait till year 2 or 3. And you look up on the first week of February, they're projected in the NCAA tournament in Chris Beard's first year.
And it speaks volumes about the great job he's done in Oxford. Shot clock at 5 for Meechie Johnson, number 5. Dump off to Josh Gray. He'll power his way inside.
Yeah, I like your descriptive word of power, because that link was trying to eat him up, but he just went right through it.
Flanagan got it to Sharp somehow. And attacking Gray on the other end. He'll get it to go. Now Flanagan with 18 to lead back to 11, and South Carolina continues to keep Ole Miss at arm's length.
Yeah, Ole Miss is in that spot though. Can they get back-to-back stops and back-to-back makes and put game pressure on South Carolina? Watch out.
Lob to Davis. Outside to Stute. 4 to shoot. Zachary Davis. Flanagan behind the back and through the legs. Outside to Morrell. And Morrell will track down his own miss. Well, that shot has been there, continues to go down. Flanagan with 20, and the Rebels have cut this deficit down to 9.
Yeah, you can just see a different look I can in Ole Miss right now. Their confidence is growing. But again, it's back-to-back stops and back-to-back makes that you're looking for.
2 teams have combined to win 37 games so far. High-level hoops in Columbia. Shot clock again under 5. Ugasuk, the runner, and he got it.
If you're Ole Miss, you have to just play through it. You defended your tail off. Whoa, man.
Sharp hit the deck hard. The contact by Josh Gray and a foul called on 33 and White. The lead at 11. 10:22 remaining.
Allen Flanigan single-handedly keeping Ole Miss in this ballgame. He's 8 out of 9 from the field, and his pull-up mid-range game has been spectacular so far. And this is his 7th 20-point game of the season. He's a big physical guard. He's known for those vicious, violent left-handed drives and dunks. But he's got a complete game, and if his three-point shot would ever get above that 33-34%, man, he would go to an entirely another level. But Ole Miss's Flanigan and Morrell, you fear those guys every time they step on the floor. And Flanigan right now, he's giving it to a really good South Carolina defense, and it's not easy to do.
Jimmy, I don't know that I've seen this many mid-range makes in the last year and a half with all the different games I've called combined between men and women. So, I mean, Ole Miss is finding a way here to hang around, and that mid-range elbow jumper area has been absolute gold for that man right there, Al Flanigan.
I'm not sure I've seen as many mid-range takes in this year, much alone makes, you know what I'm saying? But that's what South Carolina, you have to do to them. They're going to stay between the ball and the basket. You got to have some guards that can jump up and make guarded shots. You don't want to live with it. And a big out-of-bounds under opportunity for Ole Miss to cut this thing back to single digits.
Do me a favor, tomorrow you're on the call, Auburn, Alabama. Can't wait to see what that environment's like, but I want to hear what Nate Oates thinks about all these mid-range jumpers.
If he's watching right now, he's got us on mute. He don't want any part of that mid-range game. Boy, how hot will that building be tomorrow?
Holy
Alabama
cow.
at Auburn.
Sharp gets it, and that's too easy for 7-5.
That was a delayed out-of-bounds under play. They ran a little bit of false motion, but ended up with a middle ball screen for a 7-5 guy. Really well done. You look up, 9-point game.
Halfway home in the second, Sharp the transfer from Western Kentucky. You just wonder, does Ole Miss have that one run, and can it get enough stops to truly make this a one-possession game? Ugasok left open. And Nunez with a rebound.
Ole Miss got lucky. There was no reason to come off because Sharp had the guy covered up with length. No reason to double team that ball.
Murray defended by Davis. Shot clock at 10.
Got it again.
Oh, Sharp is wide open. Back-to-back buckets for 3 in blue.
Chris Beard keeping that ball in the middle third of the floor, taking away that help. And you're throwing it to a 7-5 guy that all you got to do is get it up very clean. I love the footwork by Sharp for a kid that big. He's fast with it, in and out of those ball screens.
High ball screen for Cooper. Mack, top of the key. Flanigan the rebound.
Ole Miss is more than okay with Mack taking those threes right now.
Off the fake, Flanigan forces it up and forces it in. 59-54.
The body language, the look of the eye, the Ole Miss bench, everything has changed in this second half.
Stute. And Sharp tried to save it. He stepped out of bounds. It'll stay with Carolina.
And Roy, you mentioned it. Ole Miss's inability to clean up that defensive glass. You got this thing down to a 5-point game. You could have secured it. The opponents against Ole Miss are getting back 4 out of every 10 misses in conference play. That's a very tough number to overcome.
Flanigan with his 22 points, trying his best to overcome the rebounding deficiency. Morrell's got 12. Juju Murray with 10. And a 6-0 burst for Ole Miss. The Rebels are back in it in a 2-possession game. Tap back to Cooper.
Was that tap back by Colin Murray Boyles? I think it was it not?
He's in traffic. It was hard to tell. This crowd is back in it and on its feet. Sharp on the offensive glass. He'll put it up and in.
Big time reach by Sharp to not foul and stay off the back with a long reach, and then the left paw finish. These are two teams projected in the NCAA tournament if you're watching. It's a high-level game.
Sharp with 6 points coming off the bench in this second half. That was the dime for Murray Boyles, by the way. You called that one correctly. Gamecocks back to work. Cooper. Well, they reversed that in. Nunez has it. Now Flanagan. Feeling it. Again with the mid-range. 24 on the board.
He's shooting the mid-range like layups. He's absolutely lethal from those elbow jump shots.
Jimmy, the Gamecocks have led by as many as 17 points tonight. Now a one-possession game for B.J. Mack. You knew he wasn't going to shoot the three, and he made it a point to get to the line.
Well, I felt pretty good about him not shooting the three, but a good decision by B.J. Mack. What a fight back by the Ole Miss Rebels, projected as a 10 seed right now. South Carolina projected as a 6 seed. The SEC is loaded this year. It's the best conference in college basketball. Guys like Flanagan getting it done.
Counts brought to you by Pfizer. Ole Miss, Jimmy, has made 6 of its last 7. They're right back in it.
Well, Al Flanagan's had a ton to do with it, and his ability to make those hard-guarded elbow pull-ups like layups has been spectacular. Jamarian Sharp has been a big presence in this game as a role guy, cleaning up stuff around the rim. Matthew Morrell has made some shots, but this was a 17-point game at one point. It just tests the toughness and tells you about the moxie that Ole Miss has absorbed under Chris Beard in their first year to fight back against a top 15 team on the road. And man, it's a body blow game with 7:16 to go.
61% shooting in the second half overall for Ole Miss. Al Flanagan, a big reason why that obviously the Rebels are back in it. B.J. Mack at the free throw line, 77% this season. Jimmy, he's been held in check so far tonight, 2 of 9 from the floor, just 5 points. Give him 6. Do you want to see anything different from South Carolina based off these last 5 or 6 minutes?
Well, they got off to such a hot start shooting that three-point shot. I think they made 7 out of their first 10 or 11. You knew that trend wasn't going to continue. So you've got to continue to be who you are if you're South Carolina. Stay with your spacing, be strong with the ball, get that thing in the paint, and trust your guard play of Meechie Johnson and Cooper. This is unreal how Morrell and Flanagan are rising up time and time again, making tough, covered up shots.
I'm not sure who Matthew Morrell was staring down, but it got my attention. And a foul over the back. That was Sharp. His second 2-point game.
And Roy, they're doing it against good defense. I mean, South Carolina's in good position. You don't see Ole Miss taking unguarded, clean looks with a lot of airspace. The defensive pressure is there, but those 2 big guards are just rising up over the top of you right now.
You could feel in the first half the Gamecocks riding the momentum of this crowd. A sellout crowd tonight in the second half. Ole Miss has kept them quiet with the exception of maybe 1 or 2 possessions. Meechie Johnson with just 5 points so far. The dimes have been there. Maybe another one. Studi responds.
And you've got to know that they are going to flood a shooter to the corner on any baseline drive, and Ole Miss fell asleep.
Five to shoot for Flanagan. Thought about the 3, now the elbow jumper. Not this time. Meechie Johnson, foul. We mentioned he's playing in front of his father for the first time this season. Morrell just picked up his 3rd. But making winning plays without scoring, Coach. I mean, the 8 assists that he's got, including that last 3 made by Studi, a critical moment in this game.
Well, he did the same thing in their win at Tennessee. I think he had 6 assists and no turnovers. So his overall complete game has really grown this year. And he and his dad, and tremendous relationship with LeBron James. And As a basketball family through and through. His dad played, what, Kent State and Purdue, Fort Wayne, I believe, collegiately.
Yeah, they both were considered two of the top players, obviously, in America, but coming out of Ohio in high school. And there's a young Meechie with the chosen one, LeBron James, and his father, Meechie Sr. Great shots.
I mean, they're close. LeBron will, on social media, post about the play of Meechie Johnson. That's a pretty cool relationship, if you ask me. When's the last time LeBron posted anything about you?
It's been a while. It's been a hot minute. This crowd ready to erupt. Morrell with the bounce.
Man, good ghost action by Morrell. He ran at the ball, faked the screen, and popped out of it.
That ball touched every inch of the rim and maybe even grazed the backboard going in. Murray Boyles attacking. Too strong. Brandon Murray clears. Rebels can tie it. And Flanagan bothered, drifting out of bounds. Hard to get a transition bucket against South Carolina's defense. Cooper is open. Too strong and back to Ole Miss. Well, you think this game doesn't mean something to these fans? They are in it. And a bang-bang play. Rebels will get a break. Sharp. Not really his game.
No, just he was sitting there in that dunker spot, and that's not what you want on that possession if you're Ole Miss.
66-63, under 4.5 to go. Pair of tournament teams going toe-to-toe. Meechie Johnson the turnaround. Flanagan clears. Outside to Morrell. Here's Nunez for three. Austin Nunez 2 of 5 from downtown this season.
I'm good with the look. I mean, he got a clean look in that corner. The ball moved. Everything was in rhythm.
This game kind of grinding to a halt these last 5 possessions for both sides. Gray will feed the freshman, Murray Boyles.
Yeah, Flanagan just, again, he let his guy cut his face. And the nose for the ball that kid has as a freshman is so impressive. A lot of freshmen, Roy, they can play with the ball. Not a lot of them can play without the ball at a high IQ level. And that cut by Colin Murray Boyles was on time and certainly on target. Boom, just whips, throws Flanagan out of the way. An easy post up for 30 and White.
For South Carolina, Colin Murray Boyles, the freshman forward, a phenom, Jimmy. He's now got 16 points in back-to-back games.
Well, think about this. Going back to Saturday's game against Georgia, he has now made 15 out of his last 20 shots. And his knack to move without the ball, and he's a smart defender. He's tough. He's a tall kid that plays low when he has to. He understands leverage. But he's been a tremendous boost in this ball game. 16 points. 7 rebounds, has not had a turnover, 21 minutes of action. You talk about a key building piece in year 2 for Lamont Paris. He's got one in the homegrown product, Colin Murray Boyles.
And we mentioned too, he went to high school locally at AC Flora, then went out west to Wasatch in Utah, was there for a year, and Lamont Paris told us, you know, when that happened, everybody was kind of uncomfortable with it. CMB told us today he was kind of uncomfortable with it. But it really worked out well, and he started to change his body. He worked on his outside jumper, and they won a bunch of games. He comes back to Columbia kind of like a new man, and you're seeing that man healthy, over mono, 2 months into his legit South Carolina career, and boy, the ceiling, I mean, it's high.
Yeah,
it's high for 30 and White.
And 2 really good teams. You're just now checking in with us. Ole Miss projected as a 10 seed, South Carolina a 6 seed. They will both be in that NCAA tournament. A big opportunity for Ole Miss on the road This kid has been a force, Flanagan.
In and out.
All I can ask for, though, attacking South Carolina in the middle part of the floor. Beard time and time again tonight going to those play calls.
Flanagan has 24. Morrell with 17. He's come on in the second half. And a rare turnover by 55 in White. Bounce pass, Karams out of bounds. And that'll be the official under 4 media timeout. 5-point game, 2 tournament teams. Come back with us here in Columbia. Five-point game, South Carolina 15th in the country, leading Ole Miss. You take a look, the updated bracketology, and of course these are projections. We know that nobody is officially in the dance, but the projections look quite good for the SEC and for these two programs tonight.
Well, I think it's the best conference in college basketball this year, and I have not said that before, but this is the year that I think the SEC has taken over the #1 spot overall. And the SEC and the Big 12 are tied for the most teams in the top 10 of the net with 3 teams each. Tennessee, Alabama, and Auburn are all ranked inside that top 10. And it's a league that has slowly built itself into a powerhouse. And the hirings of guys like Lamont Paris and Chris Beard tonight have certainly continued to uplift the entire league. And you add Oklahoma and Texas next year, and this SEC basketball is as good as there is in the country. And people don't like to hear it because I think they get sometimes fatigued over SEC football, but give this league its due. It takes a backseat to nobody right now going forward.
Mike White in Athens thinks that 10 teams from the SEC could get in by the time it's all said and done. Brandon Murray, aggressive, and he comes up empty.
No, Mike White is correct because he's the 10th team. He's not saying it because he's the head coach there. But just last week, they were one of the next 4 out. Georgia wins 3 or 4 in a row, they'll be right back in this field. That would be the 10th team out of the SEC this year being projected.
And that was a Georgia team that won in this building 3 weeks ago. That certainly is saying something. Mack turns it over. It was poked out.
Yeah, Mack bounced the ball outside of his hips as a backup offensive move, and that's a turnover waiting to happen. Oh, can't happen right there, right?
Flanagan gave it right back. Cooper says, let's slow this thing down.
Again, South Carolina, they are the best in this league at scoring 10 seconds or less with a short clock. They do not panic. They continue to run their stuff and get an advantage at some point.
Shot clock under 5. Johnson senses it. Back iron. Still a lot of time left.
The pull-up game, right? Morrell, Flanagan, can he get 2 of those guys and let them go to work?
Morrell lurking. And Chris Beard didn't like how that possession was unfolding. You could sense that.
Well, it's too big of a possession and not get exactly what you want. So, you know, he went halfway through the shot clock and he said, "Nah, let's talk this thing over." Now, Sharp obviously is a threat in the middle ball screen action on the roll because you got so much attention on guys like Morrell and Flanagan, 3 in blue, and Chris Beard's looking right at him. So there's something going on in this huddle involving Sharp very clearly. Is he a ball screen guy and rolling out of it? Are they going to put him at the dunker spot and let him for the lob play? So there's action right now involving Sharp. But you know as well, Morrell and Flanagan are going to be the key guys triggering this play.
Rebels haven't scored in 4 minutes. 1 timeout remaining for Chris Beard. And let's see how 3 in blue responds after Chris Beard had something to say in that huddle. And you wonder if Matthew Morrell's going to be involved as well. He's had the hot hand at times in this second half.
Well, I'll be surprised if the action isn't in the middle third of the floor. That's where Ole Miss has been at their best in this second half. It won't be an attack from the wing, I don't think. It'll be something in the middle. There's the middle ball screen. Got it. Wow!
Rejected by Murray Boyles. Oh my God! Shot clock at 6, under a minute to go. Meechie Johnson blocked by Sharp. Rebels need a bucket. Nunez off the skip pass. Flanagan inside with a roll, and Chris Beard will utilize his final timeout. Well, a lot to unpack there after what we just saw.
Yeah, that was an elite, and I don't like that word because it gets used all the time, but that was truly an elite defensive play by Colin Murray Boyles to come over and erase what was going to be an automatic two possessions ago. And his instincts for the game and how he sees the game one pass ahead is like a fifth-year senior point guard on an NCAA tournament team. And this kid's a freshman because Chris Beard got exactly what he wanted on that middle ball screen action for Sharp. And this kid just eats it up.
Let's take a look at our All-State Mayhem moment. And have a look at this. Murray Boyles blocking Jamarian Sharp cleanly at a critical moment in this game.
And Jamarian Sharp is 7'5", and he's got the ball highly extended above his head, and he's going in with two hands. And for him to come over and erase that play without fouling, a big-time performance by Colin Murray Boyle. Now, there's a lot to go on. It's a one-possession game. Obviously, South Carolina with 38 seconds and 30 seconds to work with. So if you're Chris Beard right now, you're going to trust your defense and try to lock it up and give yourself 7 or 8 seconds to work with. That's what he's talking about, I'm sure. Ole Miss has one foul to give. They've only fouled once, so they can be aggressive and certainly don't give a layup easily right now. Bring the wood and use that 6th foul wisely if you can.
What would you do here? Extend the game and play the foul game, or try to play this possession out and get the three-pointer on the other end with a stop?
Yeah, with one foul to give, I'd be very aggressive for the first part of the shot clock and try to create something off your defense. And Chris Beard's probably going to extend his defense, knowing I got one foul to give anyways. Be very aggressive right here. Try to force a steal. Face guard and make this very difficult just to get the ball in bounds.
Murray Boyles was laughing coming out of that timeout. Al Flanagan approached him near midcourt, and they had a brief conversation and a sign of respect between a senior and a freshman.
A good break off by Meechie Johnson. You're watching Chris Beard. I think he just...
Well, Morrell poked it away from Cooper. That was clean. And a timeout called by the South Carolina bench. Well, that was getting dicey in a hurry.
Well, so that the shot clock.
I mean, I'm showing 20 right now.
Yeah. And maybe they just quickly reset it, but...
And the Ole Miss staff came out near half court and asking the question, where was that timeout called? And Jeffrey Anderson indicating that that's was called by Cooper right in front of our broadcast position.
Well, when we inbounds the ball, there was 38 seconds to go in the game. There's now 28.3, so that was as close to a 10-second count as you can possibly have.
Well, the Gamecocks avoid catastrophe there. No turnover. And now if you're Lamont Paris, you got an 8.5-second differential between game and shot clock.
Roy, let's clear it up, because going back in my mind, the ball went across the timeline. So
and then it was deflected back.
And then it came back.
That's right.
So the official's right on top of it. Because a little confusing for Ole Miss as well. But you go back and think through that last series, that's exactly what happened.
That's right. Good catch by you. 3-point game, and so South Carolina is still with possession. 20 seconds on the shot clock. And still a foul to give for the Rebels. So we'll take another look at what just transpired.
I think the ball and both feet get across the timeline. Oh. It did not. Both feet and the ball have to go across the line.
And they're going to have a look at that at the scorers table as well. We'll get clarification. Cooper working against Morrell. No foul was called. A timeout eventually. And that foot, did it clear midcourt? And this crew indicating from their perspective that everything did make it over that half-court line, and Jimmy Dykes getting the full explanation right now. And there's the demonstration. There you see it from Jeffrey Anderson. So, all right, that's about as good as it's going to get.
Yeah.
What did he tell you?
Well, if you go back and look at it, in their view, both feet obviously crossed the line, and they felt like the ball had crossed the line.
It was close.
Just before it got tipped back. So, man, those calls are so hard to make live, and a really good job by the officiating crew to go over and check it to make sure. You won't see it any closer than that.
Good job by you to get their attention and get that full explanation. So here we go, out of the timeout. Gamecocks with 2 remaining. Cooper gets it to Mack. Here we go.
Yeah, there was about 22 on that shot clock when the ball was touched, so, boy, a hard call, but the right call made it a crucial time.
Flanagan aggressive. Shot clock now down to 7. Johnson gets it to Cooper. 2 to shoot. Meechie Johnson, no. Morrell with the rebound. Rebels can tie it with a 3. Morrell heaves one up, had plenty of time. Saved by Cooper. And a foul was called.
Well, Chris Beard wanted a foul on the 3-point shot right in front of his bench. And Flanagan did a good job of driving into the defense. Here, Morrell, whichever one it was, and yeah, it's Morrell bringing it up and doesn't get the call.
And with that foul to give, the game comes to an end as South Carolina gets the ball inbounds. High-level hoops, a 3-point win for the home team, Jimmy.
Right, it's 2 NCAA tournament teams. It's not a bad loss at all for Ole Miss. South Carolina is the real deal. My first time to see them this year. I'll be back for the Tennessee game. High-level play by both squads.
68-65. Carolina improves to 8-2 in the SEC. Win number 20 in year number 2 for head coach Lamont Paris. And the big story, Colin Murray-Boyles, 1 point off his career high, 16, 9, and a couple of blocks as well. Jimmy Dykes, I'm Roy Philpott. Let's get you back to the guys in the studio. Gentlemen, we got more basketball coming tonight.